You know how many times I hit that shot in practice? I expected to go in. And how he said it, it was so gangster to me. That's how I feel as an actor. If you're gangster with it, you're supposed to book it.
What do you do when you feel like your acting career is just not enough? Well, you transition into an Emmy award winning producer, like my guest, Tommy Morgan. Tommy is Blair Underwood's producing partner, and he has racked up a few Emmys on his producing projects. Tommy is amazing. And if this is your first time joining us, I am Lydia Nicole, and this is Acting Smarter Now. What makes a champion?
Champion is about being prepared. I really believe champions do things that the average person is not going to do. And I'll give you an example. When you see a guy or a girl with an amazing body, they went to the gym and they did things that the average person is simply not going to do. And they do that same exercise over and over and over and over and over again to get those results. They go through a lot of pain and they go through a lot of sacrifice. And somebody might walk up to them and say, "Hey, you want to go get some chocolate cake for dessert?" They're like, I can't do that. Okay. So they forego satisfaction for their long-term result. That's what a champion is.
What makes an actor a champion?
Somebody who's prepared, knows how to take risks, and someone who knows how to master their craft. You're going to hear me say that over and over and over again. Master your craft. That's what I believe. That's what I believe. I always look for people that we call it that thing. Some people just have that thing. You don't need it's unsaid. It's just that thing. It's because you carry yourself very different when you're prepared. You move different. I like people who are just prepared and they master their craft.
I love that. A winner is not born, a winner is made because you work at it.
100%.
You don't come out the womb ready. As you were talking, I was thinking of a comic. His name was Freddie Soto. And Freddie Soto, when he first started, he was horrible. he was just bad. But it did not stop him. He just got ferocious about learning his craft. And a year and a half later, Freddie Soto took the stage of the Comedy Store
and destroyed it.
Destroyed like nobody's business. Nobody's business. And he came on, it was night and day. He came on with an inner confidence, the confidence of a champion. The room was packed. I'll never forget this. The room was packed. It was like a Friday night. And here comes Freddie. He gets on stage and the audience is hating him. And he just stood in his center and continued doing his stuff. And he won the entire room and never looked back. Never looked back. And I remember the moment because I was in awe. I was like, okay, where has Freddie been and what has he been doing? He is a completely different person.
Wow.
But what nobody saw was the work and the determination and the fortitude, because he turned down the laugh, what we would call in stand-up the laugh meter. Turn down your laugh meter. Don't expect a laugh from anybody. Get up there and drive the train. Do what you do. It transformed how I started seeing things, because I think most actors, many artists, we think it's what you said in the beginning, that it factor. Oh, they have the it factor. But if you dig into yourself, you too have the it factor. It's not for one person and not for another. It is, if you're doing your work and you know what you're talking about, you got the it factor. When you watch Cesar Millan is amazing at talking about what he loves, which is
Mm-hmm.
the psychology of dogs. I mean, this guy
Mm-hmm.
starts talking, and if you hate dogs, you fall in love with Caesar. You're like, damn, that's so
Right.
good. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what did he just, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to ask you, as someone who started as an actor and branched out and became a producer, how do you tie the two together? Like, because you're still an actor. To me, you will always be an actor. It's not that you left it, it's that you expand it. That's how I like to
Mm-hmm.
see, you know, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I started here. I have this skill, but I was able to add this other skill. What was the bridge for you to go from actor to actor producer?
I think it's a natural progression. If you really think about it, if I go on my set right now, everybody wants to do something different. The writers want to produce, the producers want to direct, the directors want to act. Everybody wants to do something different. Okay. So for me, it was a natural progression as an actor to want to grow. I wanted to create employment instead of begging for it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
I wanted to really learn how this business worked. And what I have found is most of us do not take the time to really understand the machine that we operate in. Because when I was an actor, I was just a cog in the machine. Okay. But now as a producer, I'm in the business. It's different. And I just always wanted to take control over what I wanted to do. So I wanted to master my craft on the other side of the camera. And still, I still do that every single day. That's what I love this business so much, Lydia. I eat it, I breathe it, I sleep it. I read the trades every single day. I know every single move made in this business. I know what actors got deals, what writers got deals, what shows are in development, what shows got canceled, what agent went from this agency to that agency. I know everything in this business because I make it my it's my 98% of my job as a producer is to know exactly what's going on in this business. Okay. Just half hour ago, before I jumped on with you, a buddy of mine called and said, Tom, oh my God, man, I got the best project for HBO. And I said, well, first of all, you got to know what HBO is buying. You can't sell sugar to a diabetic. You got to know what their appetite is. And deeper than that, if you, let's just say The Sopranos came on tonight for the very first time, and you're just now getting introduced to it. I knew about it 2.5 years ago. I know that writer who wrote it. I know the actor who signed on to star on it. I know the studio who picked it up. I even know the agent who brokered the deal because I pay attention to the trades and I know every single move that is made in this business. So 98% of my job as a producer is information and knowing who is buying what at any given moment. So you have to understand the appetite. You have to understand the market, who you're pitching to. That's probably one of my pet peeves because people reach out to me all the time and say, hey, I have a project, right? They didn't even take the time to do their background research on, well, gee, what do I want to do? Okay. Or some of my friends, oh, I got the best project for so and so. And I said, well, that's funny. You never asked him that. So for me, know who you're approaching, know what their background is. Somebody might pitch me a show and they might say, hey, Tom, okay, are you ready? Okay. I'll say, ho, ho, ho. What's the log line? Okay, well, it's a sci-fi thriller. I'm like, stop right there. Simple as that. Okay. So a lot of times people just need to do their due diligence and study the background of the people that you want to pitch to.
This is so important for actors. You're giving us the perspective of a producer, but it's just as important for an actor. When I first came to Los Angeles and I was in pursuit of acting and wanted to be in show business and be an actor, I read the trades every day. Everything you're saying, I did that as an actor. I knew who got the
Mm-hmm.
deals. I knew whose project got green lit. And I was writing my notes to that director, writing my notes to that producer. It's like, okay, that's a project I can see myself in, not just throwing it to everybody, but doing my due diligence, doing my
Right.
homework. And as actors, that is our job. Our job is to know the business. You said 98% of it is business. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
98% of it is business. We have to do the craft. We have to know what we are selling as an
Mm-hmm.
actor. What is our special sauce? But we have to do the homework. We have to have IMDb Pro. We have to be able to know who's with what agency and understand that, some directors are filmmakers. Some directors are guns for hire. Some producers are producers for hire, and some are the creators of the show.
Creative producers.
And you have to know the difference. So I love what you just brought to the table. And then you talk about pitching, because as actors, we are pitching ourselves. We may not have that project at the moment, but we are pitching ourselves. When I meet you, I go, "Hi, Tommy, my name is Lydia Nicole. I'm an actor. How can I be of service to you?"
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not today, but somewhere down the line, you and I are going to do business. So I want to start finding out what you do. So to see what I have that can serve you, because maybe it can't serve you right now, but maybe you say something to me that I go, "Oh my God, I never thought of doing a sci-fi adventure." This guy does sci-fi adventure. I let me check that out. Let me do my exploration on that. Is that something that fits me? No. Okay. But I've been watching his projects. I've been watching your projects. I'm watching what you're doing. You got a heart. You got a conscience for the world. You want to make the world a better place. I've got a documentary that I think would fit what you do. Not right now, because I got to get ready. I have to really prepare it. I have to really flush it out. But I think you would be a great fit down the road. But until then, I'm going to have a relationship with you. I'm going to build a relationship with you. I want you to talk about relationship building, what that looks like.
For me, I have always been, it's a running joke in my family. My mother always said I was nosy. And I like to say, I'm inquisitive. But actually, yeah, I'm kind of nosy. Like, I want to know. So, case in point, when you see a doctor driving down the street and he's in his big Mercedes and he has a white coat hanging up in the back window and he's on his way to the hospital, you see the end result. I always wanted to know, what was the process? What was it like when he was eating popcorn and tuna fish and he was about to get evicted? How do you handle that? How do you get over those hurdles and handle those situations? Okay. We always see the end result. We see a movie star. And how did they get to be that? Like, what was the journey? I always want to know what the journey was. So I like building relationships with people. I've never really been starstruck because I grew up in Los Angeles. The schools that I went to schools where, some of the kids have more money than they could ever spend in lifetimes. And everybody's mommy and daddy was a producer or a director or movie star or rock star or whatever it was. And these people became my friends. And back to being nosy. I go over their house and they live in a $30 million mansion and I'm sitting in the kitchen talking to their dad. And I'm like, how'd you get your movie made? Get out of here. Okay, break it down to me. How'd you get the studio involved? What? Okay. Walk me through distribution. Okay. So I utilized the relationships that were close to me. I mean, these are relationships that, that I built over years where, I kind of broke down those walls where people would be open to have conversations with me. And they say, they don't want anything from me but to see me succeed. And I try to bring value to their lives. I don't want to take. Because again, you hear me say this all the time. Show business is 98% business and it's only 2% show. Okay. So most business people are very, very astute. I don't care what they do, what business they're in. But business people are very, very astute. And that's how they got to be successful in the first place. And they do understand assets and liabilities. Now, most good business people are trying to eliminate their liabilities. I speak all across the country, and I hear people say, "Oh my God, I'm moving to Los Angeles. Oh, if I just meet Steven Spielberg." Okay, well, get in line, because there's a lot of people who feel that. And Steven Spielberg is trying to get rid of those people because What's he gonna do? Just drop what he's doing and just help you? No. Okay. But see, if you become an asset to that man, now he needs you. Okay. So we have to learn to be assets as opposed to liabilities and always needing something from someone. So when you do forge a relationship with someone, make it authentic. Call and check in on those people. As people, just as a person. Hey, how you doing? I'm just thinking about you, man. I saw your name come across my desk, and I just want to say hello. Okay. And over time, those relationships become real. And I think it's very important because in this business, it's a lot of we're in a very plastic business, Lydia. You know that.
Only if you stay shallow. Only if you
Oh,
stay at the
well, that's true.
shallow end of it.
But here's what I'm saying. Okay, like a lot of people move to LA and they move out here and they try to be LA. They sit in a dark restaurant at 11 o'clock at night with some shades on and they try to be LA. And to us, that's weird. Like I grew up out here. Like, who's the jerk? We don't operate that way. Okay. And just be your authentic self. And authenticity and relationships will get you everywhere, but authentic relationships,
Yes.
authentic ones. I didn't really understand this until I became a producer. Back in the day when I'd audition, I might audition 5, 6, 7 times for something. And I remember this one particular time, I go to a callback, it was like my 6th callback, and I'm prepared. I got my material all memorized, and I got my sides in my hand, and I walk in the room, and it was just a chair. And it was like 40 people in the room. Casting director had me sit down and said, she introduced me to everybody and said, tell us about yourself. And it was kind of weird, but I have a very good sense of self. And I went on and told them about myself, where I come from, blah, 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 blah. And it went very well. But now as a producer, I understand it. Here's what it is. You've been through all the callbacks. They already know you can act. If they want to see more, they'll call your agent, get your reel. Okay. But when they're sitting you in that room, they want to know, okay, this actor is going to be the spokesperson for this multi-million-dollar business. How is he or she going to carry themselves when you do Ellen or Jimmy Kimmel or when you're on the press doing all the press junkets? Okay. They want to know who you are and how you're going to carry yourself. Okay. Now watch this. Lydia, let's just say you and I are hanging out and we go to the movies, and when the trailers are running, it might be a bad trailer. We look at each other, I'm gonna miss that one. Okay. Then when we're at home hanging out and you see that lead actor on Jimmy Kimmel and he's killing it, we look at each other, you know what? Let's go see that. He just put your ass in that seat. Okay. That's business. It has nothing to do with if I'm funny and I'm witty, they'll love me. When people come in my office like that, we keep notes on them. And I'll probably never see you again. Just come in and do the work. Just do the work. Master your craft. You'll hear me say that over and over and over again. Master your craft. We're caught up in all this social media stuff. Somebody told me yesterday, Tom, I got 30,000 followers. I want to audit. I produce network TV, bro. I don't give a damn about your followers. I really don't. Okay. Now, somewhere along the lines, people have gotten lost in there. For me, and this is just what I do, just be a good actor. Master your craft. As opposed to dancing on TikTok or whatever you do to get you. I don't even know because I'm not on social media. Okay. But I believe that when you master your craft, and get out and market yourself, because nobody's going to knock at your front door and say, hey, I heard you're talented. So get out and do plays. And, if you do stand up, master your craft, get on stage, hit those stages every single night, because comedy is timing. And master your craft, like what you were just saying. It's very, very important. And cream rises to the top. And people like myself will find you. Trust me.
When I was 14, I read a book that changed my life, and that was How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Mm-hmm.
And that book taught me to be concerned and considerate about other people. So when I was 13.
You read the book at 13?
Yes, I did. I was a reader. My mother called me Miss Nosy, okay? I was Miss Nosy. I knew everybody's business in the neighborhood. But what I learned later on was that, first of all, that's how God created us, because we are creators. As artists, we are creators. God has given us the ability to be a creator. And our job is to be genuinely interested in what's going on.
Right.
And so I read that book. And so I walked into a radio station and stayed there for 5 years, from 13 to 18, learned so much because I was always asking questions. So how do you do this? Can you show me how to do that? How do you do this? And I paid attention. Oh, they like chocolates. Oh, they like this. I paid attention to what they liked.
Right.
It wasn't just about, hey, Tommy, how you doing? No, I want to get to know you, what you like, what you don't like. I listen.
You became an asset.
I think that actors, we are always creating people, right? We're always bringing characters to life. So it's important to know what other people are thinking. We got to know that. So you were talking about relationships and how people come into the room to meet you, how actors come into the room, and how you pay attention to their insincerity. And so they're either too scared or they're trying to scam you. That's how I see it sometimes. They're trying to scam you, especially when you see them in the lobby and they're talking bad about you. And then they come in and they're trying to impress you, not understanding that receptionist is going to come back and tell you, or not understanding that there might be another producer in that lobby just paying attention, just looking. And this is not limited to young actors, new actors. Sometimes these are professional actors that will come in, sit in the lobby and dog the production company that they're getting ready to go in, and then come on in with a smile on their face. Oh, Tommy, I'm so happy. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy. So talk about etiquette in Hollywood. What's the proper etiquette?
Being authentic. I really learned this as a producer, is just that people hire you because they like you. You got to understand that you're coming on to their environment. And a lot of times it's an environment that they created. So they want to make it pleasurable. So even as a producer myself, I hire people I like. I would audition and I get the job, and we might be on location somewhere in Arizona, somewhere or something, and we're sitting under the tent and everybody's having lunch. I always made it a point to sit with the producers and the director. And again, being nosy, I just want to know, hey guys, what was it about me? Why'd you hire me? You saw 10 other actors for this role. It was like, Tommy, when you walked in the room, it was like, I could go work with him in Arizona for 8 weeks. Now, I'm sure I did my work. And if they wanted to see more, they could call my agent and get my reel. But that job was for me because I was in line with whatever they were doing and my personality fit. And, I just believe in just being authentic. I just believe that. But don't lose the fact that you've got to do the work. Do the work. And again, master your craft and ask a lot of questions. For me, I don't care if I felt like I absolutely destroyed that audition. I always ask, well, guys, is there anything else that you'd like to see? And a lot of times the director will say, you know what? Yeah, why don't you try it like this? They want to see, are you directable? They want to see, can you take notes? So be flexible and just be open. I like to say your mind is like a parachute. It only works when it's open. So take the time to ask questions, and then also keep your mind open to constructive criticism, because how you see yourself, other people see you completely different. Trust me on that. So just be open.
Also, after you leave the job, the audition, because to me, the audition is the job.
100%.
That's the first job. Your audition is the first job. Many people don't get to the audition. So you have to consider, this is the job. I just booked this job. And then you can move on to the next job, which is paying you.
So the promotion.
That's right. When it's over, to send a note, say thank you. Thank you so much for seeing me, because that carries so much weight.
Lydia, you are okay. Watch this. When I first got in this business and I was doing under fives, 5 lines or under, whatever my check was, when I booked the job, I would literally blow that whole check, sending fruit baskets and thank yous. And
I did the same thing.
yep, because that fruit basket or that bouquet of flowers that I sent the casting director or whatever, it might sit on their desk all month. And then every time they walk past it, Tommy Morgan sent that to me. Tommy Morgan sent that to me. Okay. I'm on their mind. And for me, it's never been about money. It's about building the bricks. And in my career, at this point, I think I've co-starred or guest starred on over 80 different titles now. Many of those people I've worked with over and over and over and over again because it's about relationship.
So let's talk about Robert Townsend.
Your
first job.
Yes, ma'am. My first job was a movie called Hollywood Shuffle. Absolutely the most amazing experience on the planet. And it set the tone for every single thing I'm doing right now. So we all have heard the very famous story that Robert Townsend was doing a movie called Hollywood Shuffle, and he put it together on his credit cards. I happened to get introduced to Robert Townsend by a very dear friend of mine and yours, Richard McGregor. And I met Robert, and it was just something about him, man. Just his swag was just, man, this dude was the coolest. Now keep in mind, I met him 2 days prior to this. One of my best friends, his name is Bentley Kyle Evans, and you may know that name. You know Bentley, but to your viewers, Bentley created the Jamie Foxx show. He executive produced Martin. He created Love That Girl. Bentley is one of my dearest friends, one of my day ones. So me and Bentley were hanging out one day, and I said, "Hey, man, I know this dude. He's an actor. Come on, man, let's go to his house. Let's be actors." I literally said that. Let's be actors. So we go and we ring Robert's doorbell. And he had just gotten out of the shower. He's dripping wet. And he's looking at us like, can I help you? Keep in mind, I only met him like 2 days before. And me and Bentley literally said that we wanted to sign up for Hollywood. He said, "You want to sign up for Hollywood?" He said, "Listen, I can't talk right now." He had a towel around him. He's dripping wet. He said, "Listen, be here tomorrow, 6 in the morning, and bring some donuts." We were there at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we brought donuts. And we had no idea what we were doing, but we made ourselves available. So anything that was needed, we moved furniture, we helped with the lighting, we helped with the cables, we helped with everything. And then Robert was always on the fly. "Here's what's going to happen. I want you to say this." So I had my very first line in Hollywood Shuffle, which got me into the Screen Actors. And on that movie, every single person was a comedian, everybody. And all we did all day, every day was laugh, 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 laugh. So when the movie got picked up, I got a check. And at that time, minimum wage in the Screen Actors Guild was $1,256. They paid me for 1 week. And I was a kid, and I got a check for doing what I used to get in trouble for. Oh, man, it's on. Popping. I want to do this. They helped me get my very first agent. I went to a Church's Chicken commercial, booked it. First audition I ever went to. And I never looked back. I never looked back. So I am forever indebted to Robert Townsend and Keenen Ivory Wayans because they set the tone for, wow, so many of us about not thinking about it or talking about it, but actually going out and doing it. Now, for me, I believe that God put the greatest things on the other side of fear. And if you're scared, get past it, because that's where all the good things are. I'm going to go to my grave saying that. Every single day I wake up, I'm terrified because I don't know what's going to happen.
Let me just, I'm going to add to that story a little bit about friendships in the business. When you make friends in the business and you are all moving towards what it is that you want, think of it as a marathon. You're doing life together.
Right.
Robert and Keenen met in New York, standing in line to sign up for the Improv. Mm-hmm. That relationship has lasted over 40 some years. I met Robert years and years and years ago, and then started helping him with Hollywood Shuffle, doing whatever needed to be done, because I believed that we couldn't wait for somebody to give us anything. And that's, we're talking the 80s. I came out to Hollywood with the idea of Barbara Streisand, Goldie Hawn. The two of them were actors who I loved, but they made their own way. So that was always in my psyche. I want to be a movie star and I want to make my own projects. So that seed was planted in me early. And then I was doing little showcases, putting together showcases to get industry to see me. And at that time, there was not a lot of work for us. There was not a lot of work for people of color. And so the only way you were going to get ahead was to figure out something else to get you to the front of the line. And today, it is so possible not to have all the obstacles we had when we were coming. Because let me tell you, this phone can do amazing things. The beauty of Hollywood Shuffle was Robert would rent the equipment on Sunday and take it back Monday morning. So you only paid for one day. So the weekend was shooting the whole weekend. I cooked. I cooked all the food. We had no money. So it was like, okay, what can we do? We can feed these people. They got breakfast, lunch, and dinner and ate better than they had probably in years.
And it was amazing.
But we did everything we needed to do. I babysat. I went to get costumes until they had a real costume person. I was cleaning up stuff. What is it that you can do? And this is, I always tell actors, this is a great way for you to sink your teeth into something. Create a web series. Do a little short. 5-7 minute short. Think of an idea, put it together, make it happen. You talked about being afraid and still doing it. I saw your pictures of you skydiving. I want you to, because I love this story.
Man, okay, let me say this. I'm gonna say it publicly. Okay, Blair Underwood is the first of all, he's probably the nicest man in the business of show. Nicest man. Okay. But he's fearless. Let me tell you what happened with the skydiving. So Blair and I, we owned a company together called Intrepid Inc. And it's a production company. And we were about to step into something that was uncomfortable for me. And Blair said, man, why are you tripping? I said, man, I don't know, Blair. I don't know. Because for me, I always look at building something, it's like a house of cards. And you don't want to pull the wrong one and the whole thing fall, right? So we have been very successful at building our house. And we were about to step into something that was a little uncomfortable for me. He said, man, why are you tripping? He said, man, it's us and God. What are you worried about? I said, man, I don't know. But he said, I'll tell you what, my daughter's birthday is Saturday. His daughter, Brielle, her birthday was going to be not this Saturday, but the following Saturday. Okay. So he said, she wants to go skydiving. You're going with us. I said, man, you crazy. I'm not doing that, man. I'm not doing that. He said, what you afraid of, man? It's a metaphor. Stepping out on faith, right? So his kids, they found out about it. His kids call me Mr. Tom. So they clown me all week long because I was afraid to go skydiving. Okay. So I literally go skydiving. And when we were driving, I'm sitting in the car and I'm looking out of the window and I start seeing these parachutes falling from the sky. It's real now. I had lost sleep about this. I was tripping out. Okay. When they lift that door up and you're 14,000 feet in the air, your manhood gets challenged. I'm telling you. So my instructor that was strapped to me, I'm just under 6 feet. She was about 5'2", and she was female. And I'm thinking in my head, oh my God, if something goes wrong, what are you going to do? Right? When she We jumped out of the plane, and it was the most amazing experience of my life. Lydia, when I tell you, when I landed, in my head, I was like, what was I afraid of? This whole week, everything in my head was manufactured, everything. But when I landed, I was afraid of heights, first of all. So being 14,000 feet in the air that was something for me. But I faced it. And when I landed, I'll go back to what I said earlier. God put the greatest things on the other side of fear. Now, for me, I feel like I can do anything. And that's not arrogance. It's just that my mindset, I really believe I can do it. Because if I face that, everything else is gravy. So I surround myself with people. And Blair is one of them. He's one of my dearest friends for many, many, many years. And he stands on what he believes, period, dot. That's it. I have seen him pass on projects, and I'm like, man, you passed on what? He's like, yeah, man, just didn't check all my boxes. And then something else will come along, and it will be an even better project. And he'll do that. And he'll say, see, Tommy, had I taken that, I wouldn't have been able to do this. And it's just how he walks. But he's an excellent example on how to move in this industry, because all money is not good money, first of all. Mm-hmm. Second of all projects are not good projects, and they're not all for you. Okay, because we all know in this business, if you do a bad project and you catch a brick, you might not work for a while. So you got to, especially when when you get to certain levels, you got to be very careful how you navigate, right? So even as a producer, I'm very cognizant of images, what we put out into the world, because where we are right now, it's pretty sad. Like we see, a lot of these reality shows, and people are throwing stuff and cussing people out. I don't even know people like that. Okay, so I just believe that, true enough, there are people like that in our society, but there's other things too, and I just want to show different colors of our cultures. I think that's very, very important, and that's one of the reasons you asked me earlier what made me move into producing. As an actor, I probably shot or gotten shot more than anybody on TV. And I made a great living at that. But I just got to the point where I'm like, man, listen, I'm an actor, man. I don't want to play young doctors and attorneys. And so I wanted to learn how to create my own employment. And that's why I'm where I am right now.
First of all, Blair is an excellent role model. I mean, I've known Blair as long as you have. We all hung out together. Blair was one of my greatest teachers early on. His focus, his common sense meter is off the charts. I mean, he is so clear. That doesn't make sense. Why would you do that?
Clear, right? Man, if you stand for nothing, you fall for anything. So you have to know what your principles are and stand on them.
Centered, moral, just a man of God in the truest sense of the word, a man of God. And 100%. In our 20s, he walked like he was in his 40s. He was very specific about where he was going, what he was doing. It's interesting. We've encountered many people in our lives, you and I, people who rose to stardom. I see it as when you start getting into success in this business, there's an earthquake it's like the earth starts quaking. Success is coming. And there's an earthquake. And a lot of times those people who skyrocket into success, you start to see the not so good sides of them. You start to see the cracks. You start to see the unscrupulousness of it. Blair was probably one of the only people that I got to witness his success. And when the earthquake came, he was still standing the same as he was before. And that always impressed me, because I have been in the music business for, I don't know, at that time, maybe 12 years. And so I saw these big singers. And when you really looked at them, there was nothing there. They just didn't exemplify a good human being. So to see Blair and go, oh my God, and that's my friend. I would always tell people, you all should have a friend like Blair, because he kept you honest. He kept you focused.
His dad was a colonel, first of all. So let's start right there. And just how he carries himself is very regal. I tell him this all the time. It's very regal how he carries himself. And he is responsible with, like, it's a whole bunch of us as young actors, when we all hung out together. Blair kind of set the tone, and he's one of the first people to jump off the porch, because he did Cosby, and then he came out here and he did a series called Downtown, and he jumped on LA Law, and then he had a run for, wow, 7 years on LA Law. At that time, that was the biggest show in the world. You remember that?
Mm-hmm. Let's look at LA Law. It was
mm-hmm.
one of the biggest shows in the world, and it had all colors.
Yes.
You had a Latino, you had a Black, you had
mm-hmm.
female. I mean,
mm-hmm.
it kind of broke the mold, because these people were professional. They were white collar people. It was a very different kind of show. He went from Hill Street Blues to then giving you the other side of it. So
mm-hmm.
it was a wonderful thing. And Blair was stellar.
You know what's crazy about that show? That was when me and Blair got tight. Like, I had met him before, but when I did the show, I was doing a 2-part episode. And that's where we really got tight. But here's the thing. I have been doing very well as an actor, but when I did that show, and I was doing a 2-part episode, so I was on the show for 2 weeks, it was like I hit the big time, because I was guest starring with people that I grew up watching. It was Jimmy Smits, and we sat down at the table read, Lydia, and I'm just reading my lines off the page, but everybody was reading like they were coming off the page like they had the script 3 weeks ago. And they were like performing it. I was like, yo. And it really made me realize, as an actor, I got to step my game up. Because these are real professionals. And this is the level I want to play ball. Right? So when you get around people, let's go back to Blair for a second. Okay. I see the dirty work. I see how this dude prepares. People don't see that. They see the final performance, but I see research that he does. I run lines with this dude. Like, he was going to do this play, and he was going to do Othello. And man, when I tell you, I'm reading lines with him and I'm struggling. Okay. Now, Blair, when I saw him perform this play, man, this dude was a monster. It's a monster, right? And I just have so much respect for people who really master their craft and just go underground and do the dirty work. We did a play. I love telling this story. We were sitting in his kitchen one day and we're just talking. And he was telling me that he had just come back from seeing Lily Tomlin's one-person show. And he was like, oh man, this is amazing, man. I want to do that one day. And I said, man, you should. I said, yeah, you should. He said, well, what would it be? I said, I don't know. But see, for me, I wanted people to see what I see. Everybody sees all that pretty boy stuff. No, that's cool. But Blair is an actor, for real. Okay. We ended up doing a play called I Am 4, like the letter I, letter M, number 4. Like, I am for peace, I am for this, I am for that. Blair played a rap mogul by the name of Mo Lute. And Mo Lute was kind of like Jay-Z or Puffy, and he owned a record label, and he owned a clothing line. He's worth $400 or $500 million. And he made all his money by saying foul things about women. He gets shot and killed in a club, and he goes to purgatory and meets Dr. Martin Luther King, who had a problem with that. Now, King took him to meet all these different people who had given their lives so he could have the freedom to live the life that he's living today. Blair played every single character. We took it on the road, and we absolutely destroyed it.
I saw it. It was amazing.
Iona Morris directed it, and I produced it. and it was penned by his brother Frank, who's an amazing writer.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I just want people to see what I see. And this dude is an amazing actor, but what he does to prepare
Mm-hmm.
is that alone to me, just seeing that up close, that's my master class.
Mm-hmm.
Because he not only has taught me so many things about, the film and television business, he's actually taught me about business in general. Because a lot of people don't know. That's a very, very astute businessman. But he's like this. Nobody knows him. It's never been about money to him. It's about operating in his passion and building his brand and operating with integrity.
Yes. You are big on vision boards.
Mm-hmm. Major.
So we're going back to what makes a champion. I believe it starts with vision.
Mm-hmm.
You must have the mindset. You must see the vision, right? So you see the vision, you get clarity, you focus, you write it down. The Bible tells us, write the vision, make it
Make it
plain,
plain.
and it will come. It doesn't say when it's going to come,
Mm-hmm.
but it does say it will come. So I just want to share real quick. I created a planner for actors
Mm-hmm.
called Acting Smarter Now. And it has a calendar, it has industry stuff to help the actor. But part of it is about goal setting and vision, because as an actor, you have to have the vision. I talk about fasting, getting your mind right, setting the standard for yourself. One of the things that actors fail to do is to pour into themselves a sense of who they are and their confidence.
Right.
They are so about the next job that they don't stop and take inventory of, well, what is my vision? I heard you talk about having a third grade teacher
Mm-hmm.
who would make the class do 10-minute
Wow.
meditations.
I am really impressed with you. You did your research.
Oh man. And she would encourage all of you. She would say, okay, what do you want to be? Okay, let's all see this. The power of not just visioning. I just thought this was so brilliant of
Mm-hmm.
this woman, wherever she is. God bless
Mm-hmm.
her. We pray for her that she planted such great seeds into your class.
Every single day we were in a class. It was about 25, 30 students. And she would have us put our heads down on our desk, close our eyes, and she would play music. And you hear the ocean, and you hear birds, and she wouldn't speak any louder than this. And she'd walk around, and she'd put her hand on your back and say, Lydia, what do you want to be when you grow up, honey? And Lydia would say, I want to be a ballerina. And she'd say, class, I want everyone to imagine. See Lydia on stage. Isn't she beautiful? She'd come around, she'd put her hand on my back, say, Tommy, what do you want to be, son? I said, I want to be in the television. I was in third grade. I didn't know, I wanted to be an actor. I just knew I wanted to be in the television. And she would say, class, when we go home today, we're going to turn on our television sets and imagine seeing our friend Tommy. Isn't he amazing? And my dream came true.
Because somebody believed in you and someone championed you.
She saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself at that time, but she made us all believe that it was possible. And for me, I wanted to find her and let her know that my dream came true. Now, she's no longer with us. It was an amazing journey just trying to find her because, my staff was bringing me stuff and they say, Tommy, man, check this out. And somebody brought me something on YouTube and it was Venus Williams. And it just happened to be her third grade teacher. I recommend you guys look this up. It was amazing. Venus goes back to her third grade teacher in Compton. And she wanted to thank her teacher. It was amazing. She just walked into class and all the kids were like, oh my God, we see you on TV. And when the teacher saw her, they just gave each other the biggest hug. And man, she presented her with a gift and just wanted to say thank you. Then somebody brought me YouTube again. It was Adele, the singer Adele, was on stage. And for I don't know what it is about third grade. I have no idea. But Adele was talking about her third grade teacher, and she was on stage. I think she was setting up her next song or something. And she was going through this story, and she was talking about how amazing her third grade teacher was. And somebody asked her a question and said, well, what was it about your third grade teacher? She goes, oh my God, she was so amazing. She was so cool. She was so this, she was so that. And then you hear some rumbling in the audience. And then Adele puts her hands up like this. She's like, oh my God, she's here. Man, this lady came up on stage and everybody was funny. It's something about having those people in your life that can literally, what you said, champion your way. Just show you that it's possible. It's possible. Because where I grew up, a lot of people, and they call me theater boy, laughed at me and clown me and all this kind of stuff. Now they want to know if I'm hiring.
Mm-hmm.
Fact of the matter is, you got to know what's right for you. Okay. And I believe the day that I quit worrying about what people thought about me was the day that my life took off. Can't worry about it. Okay. And I'll say this to everybody watching me right now. Okay. What you are called to do, that's God calling you. That wasn't a Zoom call for everybody. That wasn't a conference call. Okay. That was for you. Okay. So you know what your instructions are, you know what your gifts are. And this is just me personally. I believe that if you don't utilize the gifts that are given to you, you're cheating God. That's just what I believe.
I'm with you. I knew in first grade I wanted to be an actor.
Mm-hmm.
So my third grade teacher was my fourth grade teacher who gave me my first part on the stage, because in first grade, I saw the Christmas pageant at school, and I was in a Catholic school, and the kids were on stage, and I'm sitting there, and I was done. I turned to the nun. I said, how come nobody asked me? I want to do that. I want to do that.
Wow.
And so
that's where the seed was planted?
Yes, in first grade. And in fourth grade, we had this teacher named Mr. Artari. And Mr. Artari was this he looked like a version of Danny DeVito. And he was the creative teacher. Like he would, he got the kids to listen to theater on the radio. Like we would listen, and so he said, okay, we're going to do a play. And I was like, I want to be in the play. And so I had my first moment on stage. But what I have learned, and we're talking about vision, is that you have to shut down the haters. You have to believe in what I knew I wanted to act from first grade. I came from the ghetto. I had, the kids in my neighborhood made fun of me all the time. But did I care? Hell no. And guess who's in Hollywood? I am, and they are not. And so, but as a kid, I took so much guff. Went in one ear and went out the other. I was like, I don't care. And at 13, I said, I want to go meet this disc jockey on the radio. He needs to know me. I was on welfare, didn't have anything, but I had God in me. God in you is all you need. When people said it's impossible, God says, I'm possible. We go inward. And when I walked into the radio station, I didn't walk in going, well, I was like, hi, I'm Lydia Nicole. You need to know me. Well, at the time it was Lydia Fernandez. I'm Lydia Fernandez, and you need to know me. And I stayed 5 years. I learned everything because I was fearless. Even when you are afraid, you talked about jumping out of a plane, using that fear to buoy us. In the Bible, we hear about the champions, but a lot of them were fearful and still did it. You had David, who was a teenager. He killed a bear, he killed a lion, and then he went and killed Goliath because he knew what was possible in him. I heard you talk about how your mother would say, you make your plans and God laughs at you. And it stood with me because what God says is commit to God whatever you do and your plans will succeed. That sometimes, and I want to say this about Black people, I want to say this about Latin people, we beat ourselves down so much. We beat our children down so much. Like when you talked about your mother calling you nosy, that was my mother, because they were beat down. So in order to protect us, they beat us down too. It's like, don't be nosy, don't be looking at that, don't, oh, you got plans, well, God's gonna laugh at you. But the Bible tells us the steps of a good man are ordered by God. Proverbs 16:9 says, the heart of a man plans his ways, but the Lord establishes his steps. And if you read just the whole part of Proverbs 16, he talks about planning. You got to plan. The vision is the beginning of your plan. So if you have a vision and you start to write it down and you start looking at it every day, you talked about your vision board and how you would look at it every day. I have vision boards from the time I was 10. I didn't even know there were vision boards. I would cut out pictures from the magazine, put them up in my room, and I would talk to them. I'm gonna meet so-and-so. I'm gonna meet so-and-so. I met everybody on my wall. I met everybody on my wall by the time I was 17, because I had the vision. I didn't know how it was going to come. Simon Sinek talks about your why, making your why big. Well, make your vision big. That's what the why is. What is your vision? Why do you need that vision? When I was a kid, it was in me. There was nobody in my neighborhood who acted. There was nobody in my neighborhood. That was nobody. There was nobody for me to connect with. So I connected with the magazines, the book, the pictures. I put it into practice. By doing that, God opened the way. It was like I was hearing the radio. Go to that station and tell that man he needs to know you. And so I did. I was like, you need to know me. Now, there's a bazillion people in New York, but I was the one that walked into that radio station. Like I was supposed to be there. And I believe that when you are walking with God, he puts you where you are supposed to be. And he gives you that thing. You studied under Bishop Almer, one of the most illustrious pastors in Los Angeles, with such a huge congregation and such a heart for God. You cannot be under his ministry and not change. If you're listening, you can't change. And you talked about sitting in Bible study and something happened. Tell the story, please. Thank you.
Faithful Central is where we go to church. Singles Bible study at that time probably had about 3,000 people, and it was huge. It was huge. And the guy who taught singles was a gentleman by the name of Reverend Donald Bell. And Donald Bell was real, everybody loved him because he would take the Bible and make it today. Like he'd say, Jesus was like Michael Jordan, and he'll break it down. And it was like, yo, that was amazing. He was amazing. Okay. So one night he was in the middle of a lesson and he just stopped. He just stopped and stared at the floor. And he said, you know what? Everything I said, forget it. Every man in here, get up. Get on your feet right now. Get on your feet. We're looking at each other like, okay. So we all stood up. He made us find at least 3 women in proximity to where we were sitting. Grab both of their hands, look them right in the eye, and tell them, I'm sorry for whatever any man ever did to you ever in your life. And when I tell you, it was the most powerful thing. And this went on for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And everybody was crying. I mean, crying like, ah! I mean, it was a lot of pain. It was a lot of pain. And you realize that you see these people, I see them every day. A lot of them are my friends. But a lot of women have been through so much pain, never said a word about it. They just carried it. So those words actually opened the door for me personally as a man, because I walked around and I was like, man, we got to take this to the next level. We got to take it to the next level. We ended up doing a project called Sister, I'm Sorry, which was an apology to women. I popped up with this idea like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I called Blair. And, you know, Blair's all cool. He's like, ooh, that's strong. He said, you know what? Call Frank. So we clicked over and called Frank, his brother. We started writing it the next day. Okay. We put together this project, and we went and got a bunch of our friends, a bunch of our celebrity friends. It was Michael Beach, Howard Hewitt, Tommy Ford. Oh, I can't remember all the people that were in. We had a great cast, and it was narrated by Margaret Avery from The Color Purple. And I'm telling Blair, man, if we just get this on Oprah, oh, it's gonna be amazing. So Blair went that way, I went this way. We ended up on the Oprah Winfrey Show. And she talked about Sister, I'm Sorry for the whole hour. Okay. Now, as a businessman, I went to a pick, pack, and ship. And at that time, the Thigh Master was big. Remember Suzanne Summers and the Thigh Master? Okay. There was an 800 number that they would show. And I would see this commercial all the time. So I just wanted to research it. And at that time, it was video cassettes. So I found out this pick, pack, and ship was located in Columbus, Ohio. So we sent a pallet of video cassettes up there, and we got Oprah's producers to show our 800 number at the end of the show. So many people ordered, because at that time, Oprah was seen by 22 million people every single day. When they showed the 800 number, the phones jammed. We did so much business. Okay. And then here's the blessing, and God is amazing. 3 weeks later, the show reran. Okay. So that project that was done for $60,000 went on to be wildly successful. Wildly successful. And that was the very first project that Blair and I produced together.
But it came about because you were willing and obedient to listen to the call.
Oh, 100%. You know, you and I were talking about the red car the other day, right? And for your viewers, here's what the red car is. The red car is opportunity. Now, when I speak on stage, I always pick someone out and I'll say, excuse me, miss, what's your name? And she'll tell me. I'll say, hey, I'm Tom. Thank you for coming. Listen, how many red cars did you see on your way to the venue today? She's like, oh, wow. I don't know. I guess I saw some. I said, oh, I'll pause on that. If I were to pay you $1,000 for every red car that you saw, you'd be racking them up, wouldn't you? In fact, you'd probably say, well, come on, Tom, this car is burgundy, but I mean, it's in the red family. Come on, give me that 1,000. Okay. Now, opportunity is exactly the same thing. It's everywhere, but people aren't looking for it because they're comfortable and they're too busy on their phone, or they're too busy watching the Kardashians, whatever it is. Opportunity is everywhere, but they aren't focused on looking for it. Okay. I share with you, there's a clique of my friends. We all grew up together, and all of us we like to think we're pretty successful. Okay. And all of us own companies or we're decision makers. All of us are. So we like to say that we're cut from a different cloth, right? And when we get together, we don't gossip. We're not talking about what happened on Instagram or whatever. We talk about ideas. And the language that we speak is cloth talk. That's what cloth talk is. And all of us are always looking for that red car. Always. That's how our minds are geared to work. And all of us are creatives. So we could be out bowling and somebody will say something funny. You know, a bunch of guys, we've had a couple of drinks and we're talking about everybody's mama and all that kind of stuff. Somebody will say something funny and we're like, you know what? And next thing you know, it's paying us because we're always looking for the red car. That's just how our minds work. I don't even know how to think any other way. I'm always looking for the red car, always.
And going back to the creatives, aligning yourself with that group of people who inspire you and get you excited about things. That's what I love about Blair was that I could always talk to him. It was always, and what about this? And what about this? And it was that you want to have people in your life who are always talking about ideas and moving forward and vision, that my insides start tingling when I'm around another like-minded person who's about doing something.
Mm-hmm.
It's and as I've gotten older, I've noticed that I grieve when I'm in the room with somebody who's wasteful of ideas, who's
Mm-hmm.
wasteful
Wow, that's
of,
deep.
God put you here for a reason. What you doing? Well,
Right.
I got this problem and I can't do that. I can't be around that.
It
As I've
drains
gotten
you.
older, it's not even, I can't even get to the drain because it's like,
Right.
oh, okay, I gotta
Mm-hmm.
go. I gotta go.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot talk to me because I will not be talking to you. But
Right.
thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
But it is focusing on what you're here for. We're
Mm-hmm.
talking about what makes a champion. You talk a lot about Kobe Bryant, and I was listening to some stuff on Kobe to get ready for our talk.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I heard him say was when he was starting out, even though he was the shiny object, I'm paraphrasing this, but he was like the
Mm-hmm.
shiny new
Mm-hmm.
kid on the block, and everybody was like, "Woo, woo."
Mm-hmm.
He
Mm-hmm.
saw that he had a long way to go. His hands weren't as big, so he had to make them stronger. His jump wasn't as high, so he had to really work on it. And what he
Mm-hmm.
started to do, and I think this is such a great piece, he said, I went to the Goat Mountain, meaning he went to Michael Jordan, he went to Magic Johnson, he went
Yep.
to Phil Jackson, all these big athletes in his profession who were up there that he considered up there. And
Mm-hmm.
he talked to them, he kept gleaning from them, pulling from them. And I think as artists, that is what we have to do. It's like you talk about how you're not on social media, you're only on LinkedIn, but you don't get into social media because that's a drainer. And I agree with you. I think social media for actors is a wonderful tool if you use it appropriately. You use it to put out content and put out a message that shares your brand and is of service, that it is giving value to the person who's watching it, not, hey, I'm doing this. Because I come from the record business and I was
Mm-hmm.
taught, I worked at Casablanca, I worked in promotions and marketing. I learned the value of taking information and making it work for you. And as
Mm-hmm.
artists, the ones, if you look at the ones that have sustained a long time, there's usually press on them all the time. And that doesn't just happen. There's a machine that is running the press. If you think of Brad Pitt, I was in class with Brad when he first started. And I'm going to tell you, another one who was not good was Brad. But what Brad had was he was committed to rehearsing and rehearsing and rehearsing and getting better. What Brad did was, as soon as he booked his first show, and in my class, there were a lot of white actors who did this. As soon as they booked their first show, they got a publicist. That money went right to a publicist. People of
Mm-hmm.
color, artists of color were not doing that. They were getting themselves a car, a house, but these white actors were investing their money in publicity.
They understood the importance of building the brand.
That's right. And so to me, social media is a way to build your brand when you don't have that big paycheck that you can get a publicist. I really believe that is a wonderful tool for actors to use.
It can be. It
If you
can be.
use it properly.
Well, I agree. Okay, but this is I'm gonna go to my grave saying this. Okay. God created a perfectly balanced world. This world is perfect. It's perfect. Okay. There's good, there's bad. There's light, there's dark. There's North Pole, there's South Pole. Okay. The same way people can pray for you, people can pray against you. So move in silence. People can't hate on what they don't know. So be quiet. In our community, as performers, we want everybody to think we're busy and hey, I got this going on. Ha ha. And it's like, dude, quiet. Quiet. People can't hate on what they don't know. Be quiet. Okay. You and I talked about this. I've seen actors like they put up a, hey, let me show you my audition scene, and they post it. And see, for people like me, I look at their work and I'm like, no wonder you're not working. You suck. And I hate to say that. Okay. But take the time to master your craft. The same energy that it takes for you to do that, go learn something new. Go learn a new dialect. Go learn, master your craft. Okay, put something else in your toolbox. Okay, because when you are good at what you do, people will find you. Okay, pause on that. Now, as far as social media is concerned, this is what I believe. Okay, we went out to dinner one night, and a buddy of mine, he has 21 million people that follow him on Instagram, right? And we all went to dinner, and our drinks came, and everybody had some beautiful drink, whether it was purple or green or whatever it was. And this dude pulls out his phone. Nobody touch anything. I'm gonna post this. Like, who does that, man? What are you, like a 13-year-old girl? Like, who does that? Right? It started an amazing conversation. Okay. And I said, wait a minute. I'm a business dude, and I think business is what I'm best at.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, you're about to post a picture to a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate, which is Instagram, and you're not going to make a dime. I said, you and everybody who does it is boo-boo the fool, and tell them I said it. Right? So we had an amazing conversation that night. I have a lot of corporate relationships, and I got a bunch of people from all these different brands on a Zoom call. And I said, guys, I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but here's something I want to know. What is your greatest challenge during the COVID environment? All of them said the same thing. Oh my God, Tom, no one's shooting commercials. No one's doing print ads. No one's doing voiceovers. Our messaging is not getting through to our consumers. Right there, a damn light bulb went off. Got you. Right? I said, thanks a lot, guys. That's all I wanted to know. I got off the phone. I started a marketing company. And my marketing company was very simple. I know people with millions of people who follow them on various platforms, whether they're celebrities or not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm a storyteller. That's what I do all day, every day. Now, I know how to create stories and cater to that specific demographic. And I know how to pair certain people with certain brands and they make sense. Okay. Now, think about it. Lydia, when we drive down the street here in Los Angeles, we drive down the street and we look up on, let's just say if we're on Sunset, right? Do you know some of those billboards cost $100,000 a month?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, who's that for? Watch this. Who's that for? You drive down the street, you look up and see a billboard. It might be a beautiful woman in a bikini standing next to some tires. Okay. I might look up and say, wow, she's cute. And I keep doing. It's not making me buy the tires. You don't know who I am as a consumer. You're not getting my information. You're not getting anything. So what I started doing is I started putting these messaging ads through social media where I'm getting all your information. I know who you are. I know your demographic. I know whether you're male, whether you're female. I know everything about you. Okay. And that information is going to the ad agencies. Okay. And it's called your psychographic. Know everything about you. And I create a call to action that actually makes you act to go buy that product right now, or act and buy that product because you're motivated by a certain mechanism. Okay. My marketing company was profitable before I even pressed send to even start it. Okay. That's how social media should be utilized.
I am in total agreement with you. I believe the same thing. I believe you don't put out your auditions. I don't believe you put out your work in progress unless you already have the finished product. And now you're giving us a little behind the scenes of, well, this is how it started. And you're tantalizing us and going, yeah, this was the beginning, but here I am. So
I'll go a little deeper than that. Okay. Again, like, knowing Kobe. Kobe was the epitome of a champion to me. Okay. Because Kobe was in the gym every day at 4:30 in the morning. His teammates were just getting home from the club doing all that broke people stuff. Right. So we went and saw Kobe hit the game-winning shot at the Staples Center one night, right? And the crowd goes crazy. So we go down on the floor and we're watching Kobe do his interviews. And one of the news guys said, Kobe, you hit the game-winning shot. Oh my God, the pressure. How did you feel? Kobe looked at this dude like he was stupid. He said, hey man, first of all, let's keep this in perspective. He said, man, I play hoop. It's no pressure. He said, pressure is a single mom with 3 kids who doesn't know where their next meal is going to come from. He said, and deeper than that, you know how many times I hit that shot in practice? I expected to go in. And how he said it, it was so gangster to me. Okay, now watch this. That's how I feel as an actor. You shouldn't be posting all this. Man, listen, if you're gangster with it, you're supposed to book it.
Yes, I agree. I'm with you.
So you don't need to, hey, everybody, I got an audition. Now watch this. This is deep. We are in a profession that we are very, very lucky to be in. We're very, very lucky. Okay. There are people with real jobs and they have real
Wait.
rent and
No,
mortgage.
I'm not letting you say that. We have real jobs. We're not belittling what we do.
I'm not belittling at all.
Okay. Yeah, because I'll fight you. I'll fight you, Tommy.
No. Here's my point. Here's my point. We're very blessed to do what we do, correct? Okay. I called a friend of mine over at DreamWorks one time, and the lady who answered the phone, she picked up the phone. I said, hey, how you doing? She said, living the dream. And I thought it was so amazing because if you really think about it, we really are living our dreams, literally. Okay. I say all the time, I don't have a job. I hang with my friends and make money. I hang with cool people and do cool shit. That's literally what my job is. Okay. I'm very blessed to do that. But here's my point. There are people who have responsibilities. They have children they got to take care of. They have a mortgage. They have kids they got to keep in school. They have real things they got to worry about every day. But a lot of us, hey, we're free to skip down the street and have an audition. A lot of those people are going to hate your guts. So be quiet. That's all I'm saying. Move in silence. Your work will speak louder than anything you could ever say.
I am in agreement.
I'm the kind of cat, if I won the lottery tomorrow,
you ain't going to know.
I don't need that smoke. I don't need that smoke. Just be quiet. Okay. So for me, I just believe we are blessed to do what we do.
We are blessed in doing what we do, but we're also following our instinct. We're following our instinct. And I will say something about people who are struggling and not being able to take care and not being able to get through their stuff. A lot of them are not focused, going back to having a vision, having the vision. It doesn't mean the vision is going to come today, but if you have the vision, you can get through whatever it is that is the obstacle. I didn't grow up with money. I didn't grow up with, my mom was a prostitute and my father was a pimp. And my neighbors were junkies. And, you had some people who were hardworking and doing stuff, but a lot of them have kept their head down and were just make it day to day. God does not want us to be down head today. He wants us to have big vision. He says, I have plans for you, plans to prosper you. And if we don't know what they are, this is the time to go to God and say, talk to me, Lord. Tell me, you created me for a time such as this. You said you brought me for, let's talk. Because the Bible tells us, go to God, talk with him, have him talk back to you. I didn't grow up in church, but I love the Bible. I love God. I knew God when I was 3 years old in my mother's home where it was chaos and drama and everything. I heard God's voice. I've always heard God's voice. God has always spoken to me. And this is not about, I'm a Christian. No, I heard this powerful presence speaking to me. And just like he
Mm-hmm.
speaks to me, the Bible says he's not a respecter of persons. He will speak to you if you ask him. If you say, come on in, Holy Spirit, speak to me. You had a prayer. I may be paraphrasing it, so I want you to tell me
Wow.
the real prayer. But you said,
Uh,
God, please let my art take care of me.
Listen, all I wanted in this business, this is it. I just wanted to do what I love. That's it. Okay. I've never, ever, ever played ball for money. I just wanted to do what I love. Okay. And that was my prayer. I said, Lord, please allow my art to take care of me and sustain me. That's it. That's all. Very simple. Whether I was in a one room with a roommate, or if I was balling out of control, I just wanted to do what I love. Okay. And all these years, I've been able to do what I love.
Because you asked. The Bible says, ask for what you want.
That's true.
Ask for what
But
you
deeper than
want.
that, here's a piece that people miss. You also have to do the work. Like Kobe, when Kobe was in the gym at 4:30 in the morning, it was a lot of things that I didn't do growing up because I knew what I wanted to do. So when everybody else was shaking their butt at the club, I was grinding because I knew what I wanted to. But deeper than that, I always surrounded myself with people I could go to and ask questions. And like I literally stand on the shoulders of a whole lot of people who opened their minds and their hearts to me and gave me information. Okay. And now I say that, and this is what I teach my clients on LinkedIn. Okay. You can't be me if you can't see me. You've got to have an example of what success looks like. Okay. And that's what you have to align yourself with. Because, like, watch this. This is great. I love telling you. My mentor is worth $8 billion. He owns over 70 hotels, and he's an amazing, amazing guy. He's 76 years old. He's Jewish. He calls me his brother from another color. I love this dude. We were in the car one day. He's always dropping jewels on me, like jewels, right? We were in the car one day, and he's just driving, and he just looks over and he said, Tom, what's the wealthiest place on earth? I'm like, I don't know, Dubai, Africa. I'm saying all these crazy things. He's just driving. He's just smiling. Right. After a second, he goes, "No, silly. It's the graveyard." I said, "The graveyard." I said, "Mike, man, I'm not following you on that one, man. You got to break that down to me." He said, "Well," he said, "it's the cure for cancer in the graveyard right now." He said, "It's some fantastic inventions in the graveyard right now." He said, "There are things that already exist, but people figured out how to make them better in the graveyard right now." He said, "People have these fantastic ideas, and they say, you know what? I'll take care of that on Monday. You know what? On New Year's. You know what? On my birthday." And he said, and they die, and they take them with them. We stop at the light, and he reaches over, and he shakes my hand. And when he's shaking my hand, he put his other hand on top of it like this. He just did a gentleman's agreement with me. And he said, "Tommy, promise me you won't be one of those people."
Amen.
This dude literally instilled something in me that I promise you, every time I start something new, think about that. Every time, because he wants me to finish it and see it through to completion. You got to have people around you like that. Okay.
Absolutely.
You have to have people that hold you accountable for your action, because every action has a reaction and every cause has an effect. Okay. And you want to make sure that you're operating in the positive.
I will add to that my mentor, my big G, is the father of all. And he says everything is possible if you believe. He
100%.
says, I will make a way where there is no way. And so
Mm-hmm.
our job, and again, I'm going back to what you said originally, because I want to come to, you said something about, we're blessed. Everybody's blessed. Now, if you pull that in, you own it. It's like, I am blessed and highly favored. I don't care what it looks like. I am blessed and highly favored. I thank God every day. I wake up to see another day, to try another thing. But when you were talking, it reminded me of imposter syndrome, how that stifles us sometimes. When I was a kid growing up in the Spanish Harlem, you couldn't say anything to me. I was on a mission. I was on my path. When I was 18, I came to Los Angeles. I was on my path. You couldn't tell me anything. I was going. In my 20s, I was kicking ass. You couldn't tell me anything. Then at 30, imposter syndrome came in, because somewhere I opened the door to haters, to all of a sudden, I was not listening to God anymore. When I was in my 20s, I was listening to God. Let's go, God, let's go. I want to do this. Let's go. And he opened the doors. He opened the doors. And then I started to buy into the lie that, well, you can't do that. You don't have that. And then the spirit of fear, because I do believe there's a spirit of fear that comes on you. And I disconnected from all the people that were in my circle, those people that held me accountable, those people that sharpened me, those people that were about, it was like I was moving with them. But all of a sudden I heard something that said, you are not valuable. You do not deserve to be with those people. And imposter syndrome came, and I was fighting with it, but I was still fighting with it instead of just saying, you don't have anything to say to me, because that's a lie from the pit of hell. But I started tussling with it for a long time, tussling with this imposter syndrome. And what I've learned, and I want you to address imposter syndrome, because I've heard you talk about it, is as actors, we cannot afford to let imposter syndrome derail us. First of all, the entertainment industry, we have the power to transform lives, to change people. You talk about the video you did with Blair, Sister, I'm Sorry, and that transformed people's lives. We transform lives telling stories. What does imposter syndrome mean to you, and how have you overcome it?
Wow. Lydia, I still have it. I still have it. This is crazy, but it's the truth. So, imposter syndrome is when people achieve an amazing amount of success and they feel as though they do not deserve it. And that is me. I've had amazing careers in acting. I've co-starred, guest starred on over 80 different titles. I had 2 TV series. I was on a soap for a long time. I have very minimal acting class experience. As a producer, I've sold shows to 9 different networks.
You have Emmy and Cleo.
Yes, thank you. And I have never taken a single class as a producer. You would think that on LinkedIn, I'm a master career business and career strategist on LinkedIn. I help people build their brands. I help people build their businesses. You would think that most of the people that reach out to me on LinkedIn would be creatives, but they're not. They're business people. In fact, 2 of my biggest clients are Pepsi and Hewlett-Packard. So what's crazy is I could be on stage with a microphone and I'm at Pepsi and I'm thinking to myself, what in the hell am I even doing here? Okay. I don't have a degree of any kind. I went to UCLA, but I never finished school. So technically I'm a high school graduate. Okay. So what's really interesting, I made a mention of my friend Bentley Kyle Evans. We were out having drinks one night. Bentley goes, man, how did this happen to us, bro? How did this even happen? Neither one of us were formally trained. Neither one of us. And it's like, man, how did this happen? This dude is one of 3 Black men in America who owns his own functioning movie studio. It's Tyler Perry, Byron Allen, and Bentley. Okay. He has directed over 500 episodes of episodic television. Never taken a class. And we're like, how did we get to be executive producers on this level. And we just kind of are some kids who just asked a lot of questions. And deeper than that, we're just trying to make our moms proud. That's it. And for me, that was my why. I believe that you've got to find your why. Because when you have a why, you move different. You move different. Your why makes you get up and do things that you don't want to do. To this day, I've never smoked a cigarette. I've never been high. I don't do any of that stuff because I knew, one, that it would hurt my mom and my dad because they raised me better than that. Okay. And I always wanted to make them proud. That was my why. It helped me navigate. It helped me move a certain way in this business. It helped me stay away from things. And I've never been high. I've never done, for me, and I'm not knocking anybody, but for me, I knew that my journey was already going to be hard. I didn't want to make it any harder by being clouded with some substance. Okay. Because in this business, I understand that we're gypsies, right? When you do a movie, when it wraps, you're unemployed. Then you go do a TV series, when it gets canceled, you're unemployed. So you're always on a quest of looking for that next thing. So actors, especially the ones who are really successful, they're intellectuals. They're always reading and researching, reading and researching. We don't have time to be hanging out at clubs and doing all that kind of stuff. Because if you take your craft serious, you're on the grind. And so I just had an interesting conversation with one of my clients. He's from Columbus, Georgia, and he's out here, and LA is this big new shiny object to him. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go this party, and I'm gonna network." I'm like, "Well, network with who?" Because trust me, all the people who are balling, they're not there. Trust me, you're gonna go network with a bunch of other people trying to figure it out. But people who ball, they don't have time for that. They don't have time. Okay. So for me, when I really just started understanding how to walk in my, the package that God gave me, the imposter syndrome started to melt away a little bit. Because when I first got on LinkedIn, people with amazing resumes were reaching out to me. People with the PhD and the MBA and the PMP and all these amazing letters behind their name. And I'm like, what am I going to tell that dude? Right? But I have found out that who I have become in business speaks louder than any of that. And then what's deeper than that is.
But you don't have imposter syndrome with your business.
Actually, I do. Because when I was young, my dad would ask me and my sister, "So, what'd you fail at today?" And we would tell him. And he'd give us a high five. Now, I didn't know that he was teaching us not to be afraid of failure, which I'm absolutely not afraid of failure. In fact, I don't even call it failure. I just found 1,000 different ways that it didn't work until I found what did work. I feel as though I have stumbled my way into a lot of success. But see, what I do, and again, it's philosophical. Just a second ago, you and I, we kind of had a little tiff about, "Whoa, Tommy, don't say that about, we do have real jobs." I agree. But see, philosophically is how you look at things sometimes. There's this gentleman, he's my client right now. Watch this. He comes to me through LinkedIn, and how my business is structured, my clients are looking for me. I'm not looking for them. I've learned how to change the paradigm. Okay. So he was looking for me. He owns a pharmaceutical firm. He wanted me to help build his business and expand his brand. Now he came to me, and I don't think that he really did his due diligence, because when I did a Zoom meeting with him, okay, I do a 15-minute consultation. Okay, just because someone wants a coach does not mean that they're coachable. So I kind of screen people that come into my business. Okay. And when I popped up on the Zoom screen, I could see his eyes kind of like he saw I was black and I'm much younger than him. Right. Okay. So he kind of tap danced a little bit, and then he said, "Well, Tommy, I see you have some amazing credentials, but I don't see how you can help me. I mean, you own a production company." He said, "I own a pharmaceutical firm." And I said, "Well, sir, every movie is the same." And he goes, "Excuse me?" I said, "Yeah, every movie is the same." He said, "Well, I'm not following you on that." I said, "Okay, well, humor me." I said, "Every movie you have ever seen is the same movie." I said, "You have the beginning, the middle, and the end. It's called the setup, the conflict, and the resolution. Certain things have to happen by page 10. Certain things have to happen by page 60. Certain things have to happen at the end of the movie. And he goes, well, okay, I see that. I said, okay, well, follow me. I said, you can have King Kong in Los Angeles in a certain situation. I said, bunk that. I said, get rid of King Kong, plug in Godzilla. Unplug Los Angeles, plug in New York. Unplug one situation, plug in another. Same movie. He goes, okay, I see your analogy, but I don't understand where you're going. I leaned into the screen. I said, sir, I understand business. I said, I don't care what the product is. I said, the principles remain the same. I said, I can own a Burger King or a Subway sandwich shop, or I could sell pharmaceuticals, or I can produce TV shows and films or whatever. I said, the principles in business remain the same. And he had said something earlier in that conversation, and it was kind of condescending, and he kind of dissed me a little bit. So I decided to choke his chain and punch him in his chin a little bit. So I looked at his resume online. I said, sir, it looks like, see here that you went to Harvard. Is that correct? He was like, yes. And I said, okay. I said, well, when you got out of school, you were, I don't know, 130, $140,000 in debt, perhaps. This dude actually started laughing. Yeah, you're in the right neighborhood. And I leaned in and I said, well, sir, I could get the same education you got on YouTube and Google. Now, who's the better businessman? It's all your perspective. Okay. So now I understand. I still have imposter syndrome. I still have a touch of it, but I really believe that whatever God gave me, it was enough. Now, I may not have a degree from some fancy university, okay? But my mentor says this to me all the time. He says, Tommy, you damn sure have a PhD at what you do. And it helps me walk. Man, he told me that at lunch one day. I got up from the table. Lydia, when I tell you my swag was different, it was different. Man, my walk was different because I have a man who's worth $8 billion who sees my value. I sit on his executive board. He owns over 70 hotels. And I sit on his board, and all the way around the table are men from Harvard, Stanford, Princeton, Yale, Cornell, MIT, Carnegie Mellon, USC, and so on. And then there's me, Kyle States High School's in the house, right? But I'm around people who are champions. When you are around champions, the conversations are different. These guys aren't gossiping. These dudes are some of the most amazing minds in American business. They're not gossiping. They don't give a damn about the Kardashians. They don't listen. They don't follow Instagram. They don't do that. And again, back to being nosy. I want to know. Like, I literally want to know. One of the guys, when I first started my consulting business on LinkedIn, I knew he was a consultant. That's all I knew, right? He's an entertainment consultant, right? I took him to lunch one day, and I told you I would take people to lunch. And I sat him down. I let him. I let this dude order the biggest steak and a bottle of wine, and I sat there with a notepad and an iced tea. His name is Andy Batkin, right? We call him Batman. I said, Batman, you got to break this down to me, man. Like, break down your business model to me. And he said, well, Tommy, I look my client right in the eye and I tell him, I'm expensive. And here's what I do. And he broke down how he bridges entertainment and technology. Brand new, very well funded startups and the entertainment business, he merges the two, right? And I'm thinking, like, man, I can do that. I can do that. And then he looked at me, he leaned over at the table and he said, and I tell him, I want $40,000 a month, and I want 3% of your business, and I want this, and I want this, and I want this. And he gets it. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. But see, now I have someone who's a tent pole that I can go to and ask questions because I'm modeling my business model right after him. If you can't think it, you can't achieve it. You got to have somebody that you can go to that is tangible. You could touch them and ask them questions and shake their hand. And I so believe in that. I believe in mentorship. I believe in coaching. I believe in all that. Okay. Now what's crazy, and we mentioned, African Americans and Latinos. I don't know what it is. Okay. A lot of times we don't invest in ourselves. I don't know what that's about. Okay. Now, that gentleman that I just told you about that questioned my ability to help him build his business, he's now my client. He thought about it and he goes, listen, you take American Express? You damn right I take American Express. Okay. There was no question. Okay. Now, a lot of times we want, like, let's just say, even people who write movies. Let's just say somebody wrote a movie. Okay. And I'll ask someone, I'll say, well, have you had this line produced? Well, actually, I haven't. I said, well, you got to have it budgeted. And that's going to be about, a good line producer might cost you 5 to 8 grand. Man, I can't spend that kind of money. I can't. Now, watch this. That's the same person that wants somebody to give them millions of dollars for their movie. Does that even make sense to you? It's a lot of things that just don't compute to me.
Tommy Morgan Jr., you could outshine, outsmart anybody at any table because you got street smarts, you got the stuff that no higher learning can teach. That already makes you qualified. Not to mention you got God in you. You got God in you. So there's no place for imposter syndrome in that. If I'm walking with God, he opens the doors that no man can shut, you know. And it is important as we walk as people of color, as artists, as we walk, to know whose children we are. I'm a child of the King, and nobody and nothing will ever be able to take it from me again, because I will never open that door. When I was in my early 30s, I had done the movie Stand and Deliver, which opened up a lot of doors for me. I was doing charity work for an organization called Athletes and Entertainers for Kids. And I became the spokesperson, the unofficial spokesperson for a lot of their programs, Kareem's Kids, the Ryan White program, the Stay in School program. I would go and talk to all these kids. And so Kareem's program was all elementary school kids. So I would go and prep the elementary school kids for Kareem. I would do like maybe 4 sessions, 3-4 sessions, and then Kareem would come the last session and give them their certificates.
Right.
And so I would talk to Kareem, and I always felt like whatever I was saying to him got stuck at the knees. Like it just didn't go up to it just didn't go up the elevator. I'd talk and yeah. But one day we were at a school and I said, okay, so these kids, they're great, blah, blah, blah. I said, and I gave him the certificates that he was going to hand out. And he was like this. I said, man, you are bigger than them. You could take them. You could take them. Don't be afraid of these little kids. You could take them. And so months later, we did this huge rally at a high school in South Central. And it was like all these athletes, like major athletes from the Dodgers and Nitro. I think that's his name, Nitro, who was like
American Gladiator.
American Gladiator. All these, and me. It was all these athletes and me. And I'm standing there going, what the hell am I doing here? And I remember Kareem, who I didn't even think knew my name, because again, I thought that whatever I said to him got stuck at his knee. Right. He turned and he introduced me and he said, I'm bringing out this special lady and she's going to talk to you and you need to listen to her because she knows what she's talking about. Mm-hmm. And I came out and I didn't know what I was going to talk about. Mm-hmm. But I would walk, whenever I was speaking, I always asked the Holy Spirit, again, we're talking prayer. I always said, Holy Spirit, speak through me. Give these kids what they need because I don't know. You speak through me. And I went out there and I had prayed just before I spoke. And I remember thinking, I don't know what the hell I'm going to say. I don't know why Kareem is saying that because I don't know what I'm going to say. I have no clue. But I went out there and the Holy Spirit showed up and the kids went crazy. And when it was over, God reminded me, it's not about you, it's about me. Mm-hmm. So if you walk with me, I will make the way. If you give me the place in you, you just need to show up. That's all you need to, you are the vessel. And because of that, I was able to go and minister to kids in the youth authority for about 10 years.
Right.
And I always walked in, it's not about me, it's about God. So I'm just being the vessel. So in that imposter syndrome, we can let it go. I remember this lawyer getting really hostile with me because she was at my church. She went to my church and I had given her a ride and she was asking me what I was doing. And I said, well, God has opened this door and I'm going into these youth facilities and ministering to these kids. And he's just doing something extraordinary. She says, well, what kind of credentials you have? I said, I don't have any credentials. She said, well, where did you go to school? I said, I didn't go to college. I mean, I went to college, but like you, I didn't graduate. I said, well, God said go and I did. And he opened the door and he put me where it's not about me. And it was like the demon came out of her. And I remember at that moment going, you are doing God's work. That's all. That's it. Don't ever question what you are doing because he called you. He opened the door for you. He made a way where there is none. So I just wanted to share this with you because you are doing God's work, Tommy. You are doing God's work. Every step that you have taken, whether you know it or not, God was positioning you because you said, let my art take care of me. That was the prayer you said. So he is doing it in an outrageous way. He is doing for you what you could not do for yourself because it's not about, I have a college degree. That's great. But he calls us without a college degree. He calls us without a high school degree. He calls us when he has equipped you, you are ready to go.
Like Robert.
Robert didn't have a degree. He did not go to film school. Blair didn't finish college either.
Blair didn't finish college either. He dropped out of Carnegie Mellon because he couldn't afford it. His family couldn't afford it. But see, watch this. You heard me say earlier, you can't be me if you can't see me. You got to find somebody, even if you don't know him. Like I met Jay-Z a couple times, but like Jay-Z and 50 Cent and man, it's a whole bunch of these young dudes right now. They didn't go to Harvard Business School or Yale or Princeton or anything like these dudes are amazing. They run circles around guys who did go to Harvard and guys who did go to Princeton. Okay. But I study them and I study their work ethic and it shows me it's possible.
And that is what makes you a PhD in your business. What you have cannot be put in a textbook. You've lived it. You've lived what it's like to be an actor trying to make it in Hollywood. You've lived what it's like to be an actor succeeding in Hollywood. You've lived what it's like to start a production company with your friend and saying, let's do this because you had a vision. You've lived it. You've lived it to go, I think I could do that. I'm going to ask these people because God put in you that sense of curiosity. God gave that to you. That's not about you being nosy. When he was giving ingredients, that was an ingredient he gave you. That was the flavor. He says, I want Tommy to have this flavor. I want him to be colorblind. I don't want him to see color. I want him to see vision. I want him to be a true storyteller. I want him to strive for the best. That is more than enough. He gives us above and beyond anything we could ever ask for or believe in. We can imagine if we open up and just pray and just say, God, give me. That there's a passage in the Bible that says, God, send me. And with that, you have taken on the responsibility. So you cannot walk in imposter syndrome. I am sorry to tell you, you got to let that go right now, only because when you do that, you negate God in you.
One, I agree, but here's what I mean. Okay, some people like school. Let's just take traditional education. To me, it's almost like being in prison. I've never been in prison, and I know you haven't either.
But I've gone to visit them.
As have I, and spoke there. Okay. But they tell you when to eat. They tell you when to wake up. They tell you when to work out. They tell you when. School is almost that exact same mindset.
It's giving you a certain structure.
And this is going to make me sound like a jerk, but Let me explain it first. Okay. So I just recently spoke at USC and I was speaking to a film and television crowd, right? And I said, where I went to school, none of my professors could teach me how to have $1 million. Because if they could, they'd have it. So how are you trying to teach me about money and you don't have it? In business, that's called a broken business model because you're following something that's not proven. I wasn't trying to be a jerk, so I cleaned it up. And I said, guys, here's what I'm trying to say. If you want to be a fireman, hang out with a fireman. So you got to surround yourself, like you and I said earlier, you got to be around like-minded people. Like mine, we call it the cloth. You got to be around people who are very like-minded and we push each other. Man, here's what I love about Blair. Me and Blair are so real with each other. You should hear us talk because our conversations are hilarious. I might have an idea, right? We talk to each other like this. Nah, man, that sucks. And we are so honest with each other, but we always say it because whatever that idea is, it might spark something in someone else. We might say it and they're like, nah, man, that sucks. But you know what? You know, and we are so like real with each other. And Blair is one of those people that he knows how to speak to me, right? But I noticed that about him. Like we were just joking about this just the other day. I was telling a friend of ours, I said, Blair has a way of telling you off, but it's so smooth. You're like, man, I like that guy. Okay. He just has that ability. Okay. But he's so real. And you got to have people around you like that because he helps me, like jumping out of the plane and everything else. He helps me grow.
Well, he's an iron sharpening.
Man, iron sharpens iron and game recognized game, period.
That's
Okay.
right.
So to me, creatively, because he's an actor of a certain ilk, he's A-lister. I have actually sat in a room on the speakerphone when, deals are being negotiated because he wants me to see this. He's like, Tom, come drink this in, man. I want you to hear this. Okay. And I'm very grateful to that because it's made me a much better businessman. It helps me understand this world of entertainment and how to navigate it. And there are levels to this.
Let me add something to that. First of all, you wouldn't have been asked to hear that if he did not believe in you. You talk about somebody who doesn't say what they're doing. Blair has never, ever, and I kidded him about this the other day. He will
you ain't lying
never
either.
tell you what he is doing. I mean, back in the day, he will never, ever share his hand with you until it is done in the can and being distributed.
He's still like that.
Never, he will never tell you anything. And if Blair lets you in his inner circle, because he is such a good judge of character. I mean, that's what I love about Blair. We're going to have a little Blair fest now. But what I love about Blair is that Blair knows people. He is quiet. He will study people before he even like, oh yeah, he'll go. He's always kind and cordial, but that doesn't mean you his friend. And the fact that as you were talking, I was like, see, Blair trusted you. He trusted you with everything because that's not what Blair does. He does not like say, hey, come on and listen to this. Come on.
Well, that's something else that I learned about from him is be quick to listen and slow to speak. Okay. Because he, again, very astute business person. But and what I find is that that's his acting is, that's who he is. That's his foundation. But he actually takes some of those same principles and he lives by them. Okay. Because we all know acting is like, it's like music, there are beats and rests, and he knows when to take those beats and to be quiet. And he knows how to play those beats. He knows how to listen. He knows how to assess. We'll do some business. And let's just say somebody came to us and said, hey guys, what do you think about this? We never say yes. I don't care how amazing it sounds. We'll always say, let's go sleep on that. Okay. Let's think about it, pray about it. Okay. Because you might wake up tomorrow and you have a completely different mindset and you're like, oh, I forgot to ask this question. Oh, I forgot to ask that question. Okay. He's really, really good at that. And that's why he's been able to navigate, because he's very patient. And if I were to say anything about that man, he's patient. He's patient, and he's very deliberate in his movements, you know.
He's slow and steady.
We were just talking about this. Okay. So we call him Mr. P. Sidney Poitier, Mr. P. Okay. Mr. P was Blair's, it was like Blair's godfather, right? Now, Blair is that to me. Okay. And I feel amazing that I could pick up the phone and call, like, you know, watch this. This is just crazy, but Blair's actually one of my favorite actors. Okay. And to have one of my favorite actors in my back pocket that I could call, and he's going to give me some real, honest, and true feedback on the question that I asked him. Okay. He doesn't gas me up. He doesn't whatever, but the dude doesn't want anything from me but for me to be successful. And you got to have somebody like that in your life. That's why I believe in mentorship. I believe in coaches. I believe in studying. Like, I'm constantly learning about this dude. I've been friends with him 35 years, right? But I'm constantly learning something new about him and how he moves, because just what you said, Blair won't mention. Listen, that's that military background from his father. I've asked him things, him and his brother. I'll say, hey, man, what do you think about this? And then they're going to that military thing. I can't confirm or deny that. But to have somebody like that, I really I admire this dude. I admire him. I see some of these performances, and I'm like, man, my God.
He is a Kobe Bryant in his world. He
1,000%.
is always working on his craft, always figuring out what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to have this talk with you because when I was watching your stuff, what kept coming back to me was champion. Mm-hmm. You are a champion. Mm-hmm. And so as an actor, I love nothing more than being around actors who are creating. I love it. I love acting. I love the process. I love all of it. And to be around other actors and other creatives who are talking process and how they got this, and the brain is moving, and I thought about this, and what about this, and the collaboration. Champions do that. That's what champions do. You know, and so I've learned over the years that as an actor, as a creative, that circle is so important. The coaching, going back to what you're saying, coaching is crucial. I tell every actor, when you are going up for parts, you have to get coached. You cannot just do a cold self-tape. You got to get coached. You got to be ready. You are a athlete. You know, Olympic athletes have coaches for everything. They have it for mindset. They train their butt off. Yep. And so you have to come in and do the thing. And I love the process. I love going back to being nosy. That's part of being an actor. That's part of being a creative. Even if you're a fine artist, you should know all of the great painters, what their style was, what, everybody who starts somewhere ends somewhere else. If you look at great comedy, we did a documentary, Why We Laugh, and it was one of my best, most funnest times. Was I got for a year, I got to research and watch all these I felt like I was a comedy university. I was watching all these wonderful comics and seeing from their beginning, like Richard Pryor. He started out as a carbon copy of Bill Cosby until he found his voice, and being able to sit with Bill and say, Bill, what did you think of Richard when he was doing you? What was that about? And just to be able to have discussions about art with other artists. And I think that as actors, actors, producers, writers, directors, we have to find our group of artists who are raising the game. They are thinking beyond, they're not about, I just need a job, but they're trying to see, how do I transform this business? What do I do to
Mm-hmm.
take it to the next level? What can I do? I've been
Mm-hmm.
working with Robert for 22 years, 23
Mm-hmm.
years already,
Mm-hmm.
and it
Mm-hmm.
has never gotten old. It has gotten
Mm-hmm.
hot and heated. We've
Right.
but the creativity, the and this, and let's think about this. I love that process. And as actors, we have to be around champions. We have to be around other people who take us to the next level, who sharpen us. Going back to talking about you and Blair, he sharpened you, you sharpened him. You would not be in his circle if you weren't sharpening him. Believe me.
You said something that was kind of deep. I really want your viewers to really understand this. Draw from your experiences, especially your pain. Okay. Your pain is what makes you great. And here's what I mean. Every amazing songwriter, they've been through some pain. Okay. All the best comedians. Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart has the biggest comedy tour ever. And it's called Laugh at My Pain. Because he talked about his family and his dad was a crackhead, blah, 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 blah. And he was able to take those experiences and spin them into comedy and make people laugh. And that was therapeutic for him. And that's who he became. So as actors, you draw from that. Okay. So be thankful when you go through it, whatever you're going through. Okay. Because that's going to be something that you put in your tool shed and you're going to be able to pull out later. That's what makes people great.
I would recommend whoever's watching this to get more of Tommy Morgan Jr. Google him. Go into YouTube because he's got some amazing stories, amazing pearls of wisdom. I love this so much. I don't have a job, quote.
Mm-hmm. I don't have a job. I hang with my friends and make money.
Can you say it just one more time, please?
I don't have a job. I hang with my friends and make money.
I love that. I think that is, if we could just reframe that as actors.
I think it's pretty cool to live by. But I mean, I'm not saying it as some cool tag phrase or whatever. I mean, that's literally what my life is. And what's cool is like there are things that I hate about my job. I'm sure, like say for example, I've been everywhere with Blair. Okay, and let's just say we were on the road and we had to be at the airport at 6 in the morning, and man, it's terrible. So we had to wake up at 3 to be at the airport, whatever it was. And when I'm at the airport and I see my dude jump out of that black SUV and we look at each other and just start laughing, about to be popping. I'm like, they pay us for this? That's not a job.
When you love what you do, it's not a job.
Not a job.
When you love what you do, you get up at 3 in the morning so you can get to the airport at 6. That's how we do. And you're not chasing money because money finds you.
Hey, just master your craft and they'll happen to pay you a bunch of money for what you really love to do.
Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know what your takeaway was from this video and share it with some of your friends. And don't go anywhere, because if you've struggled with imposter syndrome, this next video with Joanne Daniel is going to help you immensely.